What's going on, Fighter Share Nation? It is just a little after 7 p.m. East Coast time, and you know what that means. It's time for the Fighter Share Report every Sunday and Wednesday, and since today's Wednesday, I guess we better get into it. My name is Brew, and I'm here with, let me look. Yeah, it says the Badger. I'm here with the Badger. What's going on, Badger?
What's going on, brother? Therapy time, baby.
Amen. All right, well, I guess we can jump right in unless you got something you really want to start off with or something you want to address.
Nah, man. Listen, we 72 hours out. I'm
Yeah.
excited for this UFC fight card, man. So that's where I'm at with it, man.
Yes, I can't wait. I can't wait. Whoo, it's gonna be fun.
This is kind of made all the quarantine worth it. So yeah,
yeah.
ready.
And the more Masvidal does these interviews, you know what? Let's just get into it because. All right, on my grind. What's going on? Top rank recap. What you got, bro?
Listen, I was looking at the results last night, and I saw where another prospect went down for top rank. This is bad news, man. I mean, I guess it's good that it's happening when ain't nothing else going on, and for whatever it's worth, it's still within the top ranked family for the most part, right?
Mm-hmm.
But dang, man, I mean, Joshua Greer. That was the biggest name of note. But then who was the other guy that went down?
The dude from Australia. He lost his title.
Maloney, one of the Maloney brothers, right?
Yeah.
He went down. And then and then last night another prospect bit the dust. So look, top rank need to get together, man. I keep saying we're gonna give Carmen Reddy a call. We might need to give Carmen. Listen, you've been rolling snake eyes all summer, bro. And we just halfway, we ain't even halfway through the summer. Excuse me. The summer's really just getting started. So you got to ride this thing out to September, man. You got to come up with something better than this. I mean, I don't know if Uncle Bob feels a way about it because, like I said, it's all kind of in-house money. But geez Louise, man, you really blowing the church's money right now.
Yeah. You might be asking the government for a bailout because I don't think Uncle Bob's going to take too many of these L's.
Yeah, nah. I mean, I think most people, just the casual fans that actually catching these fights, they don't understand everything that goes on behind the scenes, especially what it entails to, in so many words, build up a prospect.
Mm-hmm.
Not only does that take a lot of time, it takes a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, quite a bit because, well, yeah, sticking with the theme, it does because you've got to promote these people, these young men and women. You've got to fly them in. You've got to work with them. And time is money in certain situations because you have people spending time with them on the phone, meeting with them, trying to get them to a certain level, and you're putting on events. Yes, you make money from it, but as we've learned from most of the smaller events, before you reach a certain level, anything shy of a pay-per-view, you're not really making money from unless you get television revenue, which Uncle Bob is in that place. But before they get to that point, how much money have you been sinking into them in these smaller fights?
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing. All these things matter, bro. And again, in the boxing circles, it just kind of comes off as you don't know how to build up a prospect. I mean, there's no reason why so many guys should have lost. And look, at the end of the day, it's good for the sport, right? These are the proverbial, what turned into obviously 50-50 fights, which probably should have been more 80-20, 70-30 fights, right? People want to see the 60-40 fights, the 50-50 fights. 50-50 fights normally reserved for the championship fights, and rightfully so. But no one's expecting these upsets at this level with these cards.
Parity is the word they use. But parity isn't always great for boxing, not at the low levels.
Right.
It's good at the championship levels, but it's not good always at the lower levels unless you're the B-side fighter.
Right. And what for all that being said, bro, at the end of the day, the money doesn't align with the parity. You didn't spend money on the guy that you brought in to be an opponent. No. You sunk thousands of dollars into this kid, right, and it just went up in flames. So they got a few more summers, as the old folks say, a few more mango seasons to get right. So we will see what they do the next couple months, but it's been not so good for Top Rank so far.
Listen, if it was an anomaly, if it was like one or two that happened, you'd be like, okay, it's just the luck of the draw. but it seems to be happening weekly sometimes. So yeah, I get it. I get it. Hey, moving along. Boy, look at here. Matchmaker. UFC 251. Usman versus Masvidal.
Is that how you gonna say it? And before we get started with this, I just found out it's gonna be a dark fight. No crowd. Who knew? I thought we was gonna get Barbara walking across, elephants, gold rain out the sky. None of that.
That'd be awesome. That's
A
like
dark fight, bro.
In Disney World. Yeah.
This is disappointing.
But here's
Where
the thing.
all the oil tycoons and sheiks at? That's what I want to see.
But listen, they'll be at in the clubs outside the 10-mile radius. Because you knew it was going to be a dark fight when Dana said, well, we have a 10-mile radius blocked off. So
yeah, I guess I didn't take that literally. I figured he meant, Dana,
yeah,
but he is a man of his word in these particular instances, right? I just thought he meant just, sealed off from the general public, not that it was going to be a dark match. You
knew good and well he was going to take that perimeter seriously when you lost your contender for your main event. If nothing else caused you to take it seriously.
Indeed.
That one. Listen, I've been watching video. Masvidal is doing video interviews with anybody he can on ESPN.
He is.
He texts Kenny Mayne to make sure he can get on.
Yeah, he jumped on Ariel's show as well.
And he got on Chael Sonnen's show.
Yeah, Chael as well.
The same night. As soon as he landed in that pink robe. Hey, I can't wait for the fight because I saw a clip and Kenny Mayne asked him, did you realize that as you were getting on your elevator, Usman was getting off of his?
Right.
Said, no, I didn't realize until I saw the clip. Could you see him looking at his phone and his eyes were dilated? I thought that was hilarious. Because he was by himself. Usman had his crew.
Yeah.
Even Kimbo Slice would have told him to keep walking.
I can see that.
But I can't wait. I know we were going to jump into this tomorrow, but I can't wait to see how this fight goes. Masvidal has been telling anybody who will listen after he wins the belt, here's who he wants to fight. He has completely dismissed Kamaru Usman. And I don't know if it's a mental thing because he had to drop 21 pounds or nearly 21 pounds in 5 to 6 days. If he's trying to get any leverage he can to get inside Usman's head, not sure. But one thing you're not going to legitimately do is sell Kamaru Usman short to himself. One thing he does not lack is confidence in his ability. Not false bravado, but confidence in his ability. I can't wait to see them lock the cage. And I hope they put an extra lock on there so people can't get in because I think these two are going to try to kill each other.
I am in lockstep with you on this. It doesn't matter. None of this matters because what we all know is that Cuban Street Jesus is a fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond being a professional combat athlete, he is a fighter. This man was one of Kimbo Slice's first proteges back in early 2000s when Kimbo took off with the backyard fights, the backyard brawls. He is a fighter. So no matter what he's doing, whether you want to call it gamesmanship or not, Jorge believes it. Whatever he's saying, he legitimately believes. Okay.
And he has a record of 35-13.
And he's only been stopped 3 times. That's the important part. His guy's lost 10 fights by decision. Now, I'm not saying those 10 decisions were wrong. But when you've got 13 losses, you've only been stopped 3 times. That's pretty impressive. He's also been fighting since he was 19. This guy has a lot of miles on him. He knows all the tricks of the trade. He's not worried about anything. Now, on the other side, we got a guy who always feels disrespected. He always feels like he doesn't get the respect he deserves. And one common theme Usman has been constantly preaching throughout his championship campaign is that every time he fights, we're going to be looking for who's the next guy, who's up next. And he's kind of taking this attitude with Masvidal. Is like, look, y'all don't going to give me credit for beating him. He took the fight on short notice. But anybody that knows what's been going on, he had a 4-week break. He was the original opponent. He had been training for Usman since after the Nate Diaz fight, which I think was in January or February earlier this year. So he's had Usman on the brain.
So he's been mentally and physically preparing for this guy. He took a couple weeks off because he wanted more money. They replaced him with Gilbert Burns. Burns comes up COVID positive, and now he's stepping in. I don't think the game plan changes. I don't even think the weight cut's that big of a deal because I've seen these MMA guys shed 20 pounds in 2 days. I've witnessed it myself. So he's got a week to do it. He's a pro. He knows what to do. I think this is a great fight. It's closer than people think. I'm just ready to see it.
And I agree with him because the media is already trying to build him up for his defense. Every time they interview him, well, you know, you got this tremendous weight cut, and he's trying to blow it off. Well, it's not that bad, but they're like telling him, look, dude, let this linger. Let this linger. I can't wait. We don't pick a winner on this show, but I can't wait. It's going to be a great fight. I guarantee it. Guarantee it's going to be a great fight. Ask Ben Askren.
Hey, and by the way, who's turned that loss into a shiny penny? This guy's becoming quite the social media guy. He's becoming more popular because he got knocked out in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Good job for Ben Askren.
Yeah, good job, Ben. Much better than Invicta. Meanwhile, Deshaun versus the Jews. Now,
sounds like a hood classic meets the Bible.
It does. A black exploitation movie.
Yeah, this is terrible.
Yeah.
So fill me in, bro. What's going on? Because I haven't had a chance to really dive into it. I kind of got an idea. I did a little bit last minute reading, but just kind of fill me in what's going on. I think we can unpack this together.
Every quote, every place I found a quote was on a site that I knew would shut us down off of Facebook if I posted it, even giving attribution. So what I'm doing is paraphrasing. Now, Deshaun Jackson quoted Adolf Hitler and talking about when Hitler mentioned that the real Jews were black, and if they knew their history, they would understand that the new white Jews changed history to manipulate thought and to hold the United States at ransom so they could take over. And Hitler made the statement that why would I kill the black Jews? Now, he didn't say the black Germans, because he did castrate with chemicals and kill some black Germans. But, you know, the United States didn't go to war over that. But he's talking about the black Jews who he determined, and if you look at your Bible, whether you look at the Torah, which is the first 5 books, or you just look at other scriptures in the Bible, when they describe the Jews, when they describe the Messiah, it's hard to argue. Anyway, but that's what he was saying, that Hitler said, I wouldn't kill the black Jews for they're the real children of Israel, but I'm killing the white Jews because he figured they were imposters. Now, before you shut this down, I'm looking into the camera to tell you the Holocaust is a grave injustice against a group of people. I'm not what's the word? Romanticizing it. I'm not discounting it. But the mid-Atlantic slave trade killed about 94 million more Africans. But you tell us to let that go. Now, I'm not saying let the Holocaust go. Stop saying let slavery go. Because it wasn't much earlier, it wasn't too long before the Holocaust that we were still dealing with slavery of its original form before we started dealing with the institutionalized and mental slavery that came afterwards. But Max Kellerman jumped on Deshaun Jackson today about he doesn't know his correct history. Who's teaching him? They're teaching him wrong. That there weren't black Hebrews as the original Jews. He didn't come out and say it that way, but he was saying he read the quote Deshaun Jackson put, and then he said, who's teaching you? They're teaching you wrong. You need to be educated on. And then you have Stephen A. Jackson jumping on, Stephen A. Smith jumping on saying, yeah, and da-da-da-da-da-da. And Max, I can't speak on that because I'm not a Jew, but I agree with you. And I wanted to say so bad because he couldn't hear me. I was yelling at the TV, brother, you need to really learn your history biblically. So then Steven Jackson, the basketball player, came to Deshaun Jackson's defense. And then Stephen A. Smith came back at Steven Jackson and said, you're taking the focus off of what it needs to be on, which is the racial injustice in this country, by talking about this stuff that you're wrong about. And I'm saying to myself, boy, I hope that money Stephen A. Smith is making is worth it. Because if you look at the racial injustice and you look at what Deshaun Jackson said in his quote, and you look at what Adolf Hitler, who was a genius, but he was a cruel man for what he did in history. I'll never take that away. What he did was completely wrong. It wasn't unnormal. I mean, it wasn't extraordinary because, well, when you look at what a lot of Mussolini, you look at what the United States has done to other countries throughout the centuries. You look at Haiti, and you tell me how different that is. No, they didn't use gas ovens, but they starved them out and wouldn't let them leave because they fought and won their independence. You look at what happened in the Tuskegee experiments. You look at the national sterilization movements known as vaccines. You look at what's been done. They took a page out of his book. Doesn't justify him. He was still a horrible man. Bro, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Nah, we ain't got much time left to talk about it, but I will say this. Yeah, I'm with you in the regards that people should challenge themselves, really learn their history and stop repeating what they think they know and do their own independent research. And you will see that the first chosen people, the original Jews, are black people. But just to make a more of a complete parallel, which is what I think you were trying to do, when we talk about the Holocaust, we often forget that around the same time or a little bit before that, there was a Holocaust happening in Africa.
Come on.
Who was the orchestrator of that was a guy named Leopold. Mm-hmm. Leopold was trying to control the rubber trade, the global rubber trade. And just Google Leopold and what he did to the African people. And you will see children that were punished for not producing enough rubber with no arms, no legs, no hands, and no feet. And that's just the ones he didn't decide to kill. They from what history is saying, about 4 times as many Africans died in the African Holocaust as did the Jews in the Jewish Holocaust, and not one child in the American education system has been taught about that. So that pretty much sums up my thoughts about it, but I'm sure we'll get more into this tomorrow on the Beatdown every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
And as much as our president loves Russia, they still don't talk about the 14 million Russian Jews that he killed. All right. We know what time it is at this point. Boy, no comments today? Time for hashtag CBM. You had to look closely at this one.
Okay.
It was interesting. I thought I had put another one up here, but I remember putting this one up here. It was interesting. You ready, bro?
No, this is foreign. Let's see it. That's not real. That's not real. That can't
That's not real. That's not real. You said that's not real. I mean, Buddy's going in right now.
He's not doing anything. He's shoe shining, and he's shoe shining, and that's giving him the benefit of the doubt. That don't even look like a real shoe shine. That just looks pretty terrible.
It looks like a drunk tough man competition.
But Buddy had that right hand waiting on him.
I mean, he's laying it all out.
Catch.
Want some more?
Catch right there. Catch and shoot. Boom. I mean, that was such a powerful right hand, I guess. It almost like a clothesline. He had the effect like he was just, yeah. And the crazy part about it was that punch was actually probably thrown pretty well. It looked like it definitely came more over the top or overhand, but it found the target. And
when you don't have any balance because you're standing square and you're welling away at somebody, right?
Right.
And you get caught with one of those, that's bound to happen. That was beautiful. I can't say it couldn't have been me only because I don't know anybody that fights like that that's over the age of, I don't know, 14 and is not a pre-pubescent female. No one fights like that, or at least people that perceive to know what they're doing fights that way. That was pretty bad. Would have never been in the ring with him or the other guy for that matter. So it couldn't have been me, but that was just how you should knock somebody out that's fighting you like that. That was well executed.
Right. Yeah, it was. It was. I gotta say, wow. All right. Listen, we've actually come to this point in the show. I want to start off by honestly saying, I stated it as we reported on what Deshaun Jackson said, and I don't want people to get it out of context. I am not somebody who idolizes Adolf Hitler, but we still drive his Volkswagens. But I've never been one to idolize Adolf Hitler. I don't stand for what he did because I still say standing for injustice anywhere is the same as standing for injustice everywhere. So it was a horrific event that we learned about in school, unlike other horrific events, but it doesn't discount that event. So that's all I got to say. Besides, shout out to my wife, my daughter, my mom, pops. Shout out to you, Fighter Share Nation. And like we said last night, anybody who's going through anything right now, we hope our show is bringing levity, is bringing just something you could take your mind off of your current issues. All right, bro.
No, man, well said. Just thankful for this therapy session, man. Appreciate everybody that's rocking with us, man. This show is growing. We doing numbers. Not numbers that we gonna do, but we doing numbers, and the numbers gonna keep going up. We got a lot of surprises for y'all coming in the real close future. But other than that, man, shouts out to Fighter Share Nation. Listen, UFC 251, man, y'all tune in, be in for a treat. At least I hope. I don't advocate much, but hey, this sounds like a pretty good card. I'm excited for it. This is what we've been waiting for all quarantine. Finding some legit fights to be made. Shouts out to crazy ass Dana White for putting it all together, I guess. Anyway, with that being said, man, Fighter Share Nation, we'll holler at y'all. Peace.
10 p.m. Saturday.